Okay, well, welcome to part two of this video. Sorry about that. My free video making software will only allow me to make a 10-minute video. It's going to take me just a little bit longer. Anyway, as I was saying, please give us your feedback on the ballot. Uh, at the very least, we would love to at least have your reason for decision. So for the team that won, why did they win the round for you? Why did they win your ballot? Um, and if you can also write any constructive comments for each of the four speakers in the round, that is something that kids really appreciate, whether that is something positive that they did well or something constructive, something for them to work on. I would ask that you try to keep your comments limited to the presentation of arguments in the round. You're going to notice that students are, for the most part, dressed up for this activity. There's kind of a business professional standard of dress. For the students who are not, they are probably painfully aware of that fact, perhaps because their coach has made them painfully aware of it, perhaps because they just know that they can't afford to dress up as nicely as they would like to for these events. And so I would ask you to probably refrain from making those comments and keep things focused on how did they speak and what did you think about the quality of their arguments and their reasoning? What swayed you? So I always have to tell my judges, especially new judges who feel like, gosh, this is kind of intimidating. I'm not really sure that I know enough to judge a debate round. Well, let me put your mind at ease. Whatever you think of the round, you are correct. Your job is to be correct and make a decision about what you thought of the round. The debaters also have a job. Their job is to convince you that they should win. And I can tell you that a huge part of this activity is learning how to talk to different types of people. And one type of person is a person who doesn't have heaps and heaps of experience judging debate rounds. We learn how to talk to those types of judges, and there is nothing wrong with those types of judges. But it does mean that we might alter how we perform in a round where we have a less experienced judge. It means that we should be explaining things to make the round make sense for you, to tell you why you want to vote on this or that. So let the debaters adapt to you, not the other way around. They might ask you before the round if you have any experience judging or if there are any types of arguments that you do or don't like. Um, if you know how to answer those kinds of questions because you've done this before, great. Let them know what they need to know about your style of judging. If you feel like you don't know what to say to that because you really haven't judged much or at all, please just tell them that. They should be adjusting their performance based on that response. How are you going to evaluate the round? You might choose to base most or all of your evaluation on the performance of students in terms of their clarity, their eye contact, their poise, their confidence. You might not weigh those things very heavily at all. You might really focus on the quality of the arguments, how well they explain them. Um, and for most judges, it's probably going to be some combination of the two of those things. However you do it, you're not wrong. There are all kinds of different judges that evaluate rounds in all kinds of different ways. We should be adapting to you. Debaters should be trying to seem poised and clear and doing all of those great verbal and nonverbal communication things that we talk about. And they should be making quality arguments. So we should be doing things to win your ballot. You let the kids worry about their job. Your job is to be right. Okay. So I told you that you do need to rank the speakers. This part can get slightly tricky, but you will do great. And if you have any questions, someone is going to be there to help you. But your Students each need to receive a unique score, so no two students, are going to get that same score. 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, and 1-4 in the round. Remember that the low scores are the better scores. 1 means first, the best speaker in the round. 4 means the weakest speaker in the round. Here's the part where it gets a little tricky. The winning team must have a combined total of no more than 5 speaker points. So that means that the winning team can have a few different combinations of scores between the first and second speaker and have a winning ballot. Let's look at some of the ways that this can break down. Okay, so here are some winning scores. If I get the 1 and my partner gets the 2, hey, we won. We won on the 3. That's like kind of a big victory in a debate round. Okay, if I get the 1, my partner gets the 3, well, that's still better than 5, so we definitely win that round. Now, if I get the 1 and the 4, or if I get the 2 and the 3, I can win with a score of 5. The other team is also going to have a score of 5. They might win as well. Okay, likewise, if I have a combined score that is larger than 5, I have to lose the round. Okay, so how are you going to reconcile your speaker rankings with which team you've decided is the winner and which one is the loser? Maybe there was a kid on one team who is just a brilliantly great speaker. You're so impressed by his or her oratory skills, but there was an argument for the other team that just made you had no choice but to vote for the team that didn't have the strongest speaker on it. Well, you've got options, but you've got to make both sides add up to 5 in that situation, I think. And that's what I would urge you to do. If you think the round was super, super close, find a way to give each team a score of 5, because that shows that it was a very tight round. That's probably more important than the individual speaker rankings, to be honest. So, if there's a kid that you thought was the strongest speaker and their partner got the 3, but on the other side, so they've got the 1 and the 3 here, but on the other side, you have a kid who made an argument that won the round. Maybe you decide that this person, even though they're a great speaker, you're going to give them the 2 because this other kid, even though they weren't as strong a speaker, they did make this one argument, and this one argument won them the round. So in that case, then we can say, all right, so we're going to have a 2 and a 3 on one side, a 1 and a 4 on the other side, and that 1 and the 4 happens to be a winning score in this scenario. All right, I'm going to leave you the last kind of technical thing that I'll talk about, and then we'll go back to some logistics, is some debate lingo. These are terms that kids are probably going to use in the round. You'll probably feel more comfortable if you've heard them once before. By the way, I probably also sent you a handout that has these explained in some detail as well. Students will talk about the status quo. Status quo is a term that we use to describe the world as it is right now. This is the world in which we don't do the affirmative team's plan. So you've got a choice at the end of the round. If you're voting AF, you're voting for the affirmative team's plan. If you're voting negative, you're voting for the world of the status quo, the world that we live in right now. In the affirmative team's 1AC, they will talk about harms. Harms are undesirable things in the status quo that they want to solve. They will talk about, after they read their plan, solvency. They'll make arguments about why their plan can solve the harms in the status quo, and the negative team is going to argue that they can't solve those harms in the status quo. They'll talk about something called inherency. That is, what is the status quo doing right now in the area of the affirmative team's plan? So the affirmative team needs to show that the status quo won't solve their harms. They also need to show that their plan is not happening in the status quo. Otherwise, you're voting no.